A new Agatha Christie film in 2022, a sort of recall to a whodunit of the sort of past years. But what are my thoughts and what is the film actually like? In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Death on the Nile. Let's jump into it. Aside from all the sort of action films and various other different films that I tend to go and see at the cinema, detective whodunit mysteries are some of my favourite films. In particular, fairly recently there was the film called Knives Out featuring Daniel Craig, and that was a really great modern day adaptation of the sort of classical novels written by different sort of detective mystery genres. There are of course series on British television, with the series Poirot being very famous and very inclusive, and showing the story of how Poirot, the sort of weird and strange detective, takes on cases and explores the different murder mysteries. Recently there's been this brand new adaptation, The Death on the Nile, which is obviously written by Agatha Christie and has been adapted to the screen for our modern day audience. But the way it just looks, the way it feels, and the way that story flows really does work in the modern day, and I was actually exceptionally impressed by the way the story is portrayed and put together. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I love detective whodunit and sort of mystery films, and with these series, especially by Agatha Christie, they always seem to hit bang on the spot, especially with the sort of wrap up at the end of the film, how everything is laid out, and how the different plot devices, narrative and arc points really do work together. From watching the film though, if you actually know the sort of contextual analysis of the original detective mystery and genre film, then you will understand that this is very similar to a whodunit film, and not much necessarily changes. You've got a number of fantastic actors in the film that really supplement each other. You've got people like Armie Hammer, Kenneth Branagh and Gal Gadot that really sort of encapsulate the story, as well as a variety of different subcast members just really work together. There are obviously so many that I can't mention all the names of them, but you can check out IMDb yourself to look at that. They just work really well, and having the different personalities and sort of things really sort of merge the narrative together, and in many ways kind of makes it feel like a Cluedo story. I mean, that's how any detective murder mystery is going to be phrased. It's a Cluedo sense of who done it, where was it done, and how was it done, all that sort of stuff. And I think that that film really encapsulates that in a sort of progressive way. It walks away from the sort of novella and narratives and sort of shifts it into the modern day, but at the same time, it being based in the 1940s, works exceptionally well. The narrative and arc follows a story of a sort of, I mean, it doesn't start out with a murder, as some other Poirot investigations tend to lead to. This ends up with a married couple falling in love and end up marrying each other and going on a journey back to their hometown. But on the way back, someone ends up getting killed whilst Poirot is still on the cruise, and we try and work out who it actually does. I'm obviously not going to spoil the ending because I would highly recommend going to see this film, but even the ending itself is just, oh, I can't get enough of it. I really did enjoy it, and I really thought that it was really good as wrapping up the narrative and story. The way that we have flashbacks and how we recount the events of certain parts of the story adds to the depth and the complexity, but at the same time sort of rounds the narrative out, and it makes it explore a little bit more of how those things happened. I really do like sort of flashbacks in terms of how we see how an event took place, especially in these detective sort of mysteries. I think that the film had quite a lot of that, but at the same time, I do actually like a little bit more. Like, I kind of like it being laid out specifically and like literally just giving us the reasoning and excuses and all that sort of stuff. But I think this film is fairly good. The sort of colours from the 1940s, the way that people are dressed, the funny little moustache that Kenneth Branagh has, even the colours of the desert in Egypt, the actual Nile River itself, the boat, everything like that is just executed perfectly. And I just can't get enough of it. There's loads and loads of people as well that are featured in the film. Even Russell Brand, his character, I don't know, maybe it's just a look without his long hair and his sort of refined look and his beard. Absolutely exceptional, and he adds to the story as well, being a sort of rich person that wants to actually give back to local communities and stuff like that. I can't get enough of the film. I think it was really great. It kind of pushes away from the Murder on the Orient Express that came out a few years ago, and I think it's definitely worth the watch. When I was in the cinema watching it, obviously I was by myself, but they were filled with people around me. The whole screen was filled. None of them were my age, all of them were 30 plus, and I think that kind of speaks to the audience that this film is going to be catered towards. It's probably not catered to normal standard cinema goers, but people that are interested in films, in detective murder mysteries, it may be a good film to go and see for you. Like I said, I'm a young guy, but I like watching those sort of films, and in particular, it really does sort of expand my horizons, something that I love doing when I go to cinemas. I have really enjoyed this film. Like I said, I would highly recommend going to see it. If you have seen it, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section below, because I love just hearing your guys' opinions and sharing your thoughts and everything like that. That has been all for today's video. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, and fingers crossed I will see you again in another film review coming up in the future. Thank you very, very much for watching. That's been all for today. See you then. Bye-bye.